Sunday, 1900 UTC, 2100 Central European Time. And you all know what that is. That's Sunday live here on LB0 Fox India Norwegian Ham Ventures. And for starters, just excuse me one moment. Just had to close a door here so I won't be disturbed. The joy of doing live streams and let's call it in a family environment. So, topic of today, and I have no guests today, and that's pretty scary because I've had guests for the last a lot of streams actually, but I figured this is a concept I want to try and see if it works. If it works, great, then we'll continue. If it doesn't, we'll stuff about it. But it's kind of an ask me anything show. You can ask me your ham radio questions and I'll try to answer them as easy as that. And I don't claim to know everything if you read the stream description, but we can have a discussion and we can try to figure things out. And we got a couple of people here for starters. We have LB4FH, Portable Radio, Kjetil, welcome. And we have Andy Cowley in the chat. And when I posted the stream on social media, I kind of figured I'd get a lot of, not a lot of, I won't get a lot of, but I'd get some questions in social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, anywhere. Someone just asking me their questions. And people haven't. I got a couple of questions myself that we can figure out, but I kind of want to start off by figuring out a couple of things. Your questions first. Stian, LB3FJ is in the chat. So we have the two members of the Parks on the Air royalty in Norway in the chat. But guys, what are you wondering about ham radio? Let's try to answer some questions. And we got one for starters here from Kjetil, LB4FH. Why is FT8 better than CW? And I mean, this is this is a fire starter. This is a great fire starter. Colin's in the chat. Welcome, Colin. I guess he can answer all your antenna questions far better than I can if you have any antenna questions here. But back to the question here: why is FT8 better than CW? And is FT8 better than CW? According to some people, FT8 is a way of simplifying, dumbing down ham radio. People that don't use FT8 says it's just using a computer and clicking some buttons and the QSO happens. Turns out though that FT8, if you want to do it good and if you want to do it well and if you want to get those QSOs, it takes a lot more. But I'm not going to say that FT8 is better than CW, but certainly for a new operator that don't know code, it's easier. And I am sure we'll get some opinions on this. And Ginter's in the chat, DK5ONV. Welcome, Ginter. And I know I've been meaning to send you a message all the way through this week, and I haven't. I just haven't gotten around to it. There's been a lot of work. Stian comments that we got to define better. Propagation is better. Learning it is easier. Yeah. And that's a good way of seeing it. And I guess most CW and FT8 QSOs happen the same way, though. It's, hello, I'm here. Signal report 7.3. Stian says it's difficult to rag chew on FT8, but let's be honest, how many people rag chews on CW? Actually, I wouldn't know that because I don't use CW. I've been meaning to learn code for a year and a half now, but there's always some other ham project in the way. So that's the That's the discussion here. LB4FH says he's right on Ready. I haven't really used Ready that much except for my live stream on Ready, but I've right on Vara and on JS8 Call. Both, well, both are good concepts. And have a lot of potential, especially JS8 Call. But I rarely find anyone to talk to on JS8 Call. And once I get some, it's just like an FT8 QSO. It's single report, 7.3, goodbye, and we're there. So let's see any other questions. I was hoping for a little bit more here, and we'll see if you got anything. And I saw one from Kjetil here. He's sure that Colin could easily troubleshoot why his antenna didn't work well today. And yeah, there's a story about that. And I don't know if you're going to drop a video on that or not, Kjetil. Otherwise, you could probably just tell everyone in the chat why your antenna didn't perform and what QSOs you made on just coax. Kjetil also comments that JS8 Call is great, except for the lack of users. And that's kind of the point, though. The point is, yeah, it's a good concept, but there's got to be users there. And LB4FH Kjetil's antenna, he sent me some pictures today while I was at work. And turn out that there's always a good idea to actually connect your antenna wire and your transformer. Otherwise, you'll make some great long distance contacts on just a 49-to-1 and some coax, but it's gonna be not ideal portable operating environment. LB4FH, I guess this is a question. Did you participate in the WinLink check-in for Norwegian Radio Relay League during Easter? And I did not. I had some plans. So, but as Kjetil says here, getting Turkey on coax and transformer on 50 meters is a great accomplishment. Although something you probably shouldn't replicate. I'm wondering, what was your SWR there, Kjetil? How did that work out? And I actually got a question of myself. If anyone in the chat's got some answers to that. And my question is simply, which is the easiest way to set up a digipeater and an iGate with a Raspberry Pi and a radio with a TNC? I've tried a couple of solutions this week. Let's see if I can get that window up here, though. See what happens. See if I can share the window here, because I got some plans to get a digipeater and an iGate up for my club. And I figured if you don't have any questions, I certainly have a lot of them. Let's get that up here. And this is my Raspberry Pi. And I've tried a couple of solutions for a digipeater. And I don't know if you guys actually know this. And I've tried a couple of things. I've tried Exaster, and that doesn't digipede really well. And right now I'm looking at APRX. And if you guys have any tips about that, let me know. Let me know about that. Let's see here. And there's a question from Andy here. How many questions to get a full license in your home country? And a Norwegian license is pretty simple in such way that there aren't several license classes. There is just one license class, which is relatively hard compared to novice licenses, tech licenses, and beginner licenses in a lot of countries. There are 60 tests on the license now, I think, and someone will probably correct me on that. There used to be 30, and now there's 60 questions. Carl here's got a comment on digipeating. He says direwolf. And that was my starting point, actually, direwolf. But as far as I've understood, direwolf is a software TNC, and the radio I'm using an Alinco DR135 Mark III here, which has a built-in TNC. And I'd really like to use that TNC in order to cut down on the use of sound cards and keep everything as simple as possible. And I haven't really figured out how you use direwolf with a hardware TNC, since direwolf by itself is a software TNC. But I'd really like some input on that. So send me a Discord message, an email, and anything, and we'll look into that. My go-to tool for trying this out now is APRX, which is pretty much the same. Just a couple of lines in a config file, and it should be up and running with KISS towards the TNC. And I went into this project figuring it'd be easy, and it probably was, but I probably overcomplicated it, as I usually tend to do. So we'll see what happens. LB4FH comments on the antenna or the transformer without the antenna wire. Tune it down to 1.5, so that's pretty good. Let's see here. Carl says, do you need the GUI? No, I don't need the GUI at all. And that's why I kind of went for the APRX solution. Stian's actually got a really good question here. Any YouTube channels to recommend for ham radio beginners? The ones he comes across are pretty advanced. And I got another question here. I'll just mark your questions here. The Stian is, it depends. I started out, before I got licensed, I started out with ham radio crash course, and Josh over at HRCC's got a really good way of simplifying things and taking up different aspects of the hobby and simplifying them. And that's really great. Although from your name, I assume you are Norwegian, and it's targeted towards North American audience. So a lot of the concepts are similar, but not exactly the same. But I guess HRCC is a good starting point. And Ginter comments here that Ham Radio Live with K7H and Larry is a good channel for beginners. And that's one of those channels I subscribe to, but I haven't really watched that much. But you got a couple of tips there. And while we're at it, Stian, I got a couple of beginner videos trying to explain a couple of simple concepts here. So you got a couple of starting points there. Shell says that he guesses you can live close to each other. So probably feel free to watch Kjetil's channel and ask him for some questions as well. To the beginner level things, ham radio is complicated. There is a reason why you need a license for it. It's not too complicated, but a lot of the concepts while you're studying for your license might seem foreign, might seem difficult to understand. And my advice getting your license is just trying to book learn as much as possible, pass the test, and then start learning from there. You'll get your concepts to start understanding things, and a lot of things come to you while you try it out. But YouTube is a great way, and you can see what different aspects of the hobby are and how to do them. And ham radio is not necessarily the same where depending on where in the world or where in a certain country you live. Some places there might be a lot of 2 meter activity. Some places there might be a lot of DMR activity. Some places 2 meter, 70 centimeter might be completely dead. So it's a combination of familiarizing yourself with the concepts and then figuring out what's used where you are. HF is a safe bet though. HF, you'll find HF and make HF work pretty much anywhere. And then it's always my go-to advice. Find your local club, go to a meeting, and see what's going on there. And that's my beginner's advice there. Any more questions while we're at it? Also, as a beginner, I always recommend coffee and ham radios on Saturdays, also on Thursdays. But they for us Norwegians, it's not Thursdays, it's Friday morning. So coffee and ham radios on Saturdays are at a reasonably time for us Europeans. So I don't know, Stian, did that answer your question? Do you feel that you got a couple of more tips that you didn't know about, or should we dive into the matter even more? Stian's got a question. Which antenna should I build next? Okay, Stian, I know you. And this is a different Stian, though. Not that we have two Stians in the chat. I know what you should build next, and that's your DX Commander. Because I think, yeah, that's probably been sitting in your hallway for about a month, not being built. Then again, depends on what you have available, though, to make them. My most recent antenna build was a quarter wave vertical. Simple as you can get. Works fantastically good. Depending, I know a little bit, since I know you, I know a little bit of what antennas you have. And there's, of course, the LB0 Fox India dipole kit. But I think you got a link dipole already. So any more questions? Not yet. So let's dive into it a little bit more, though. Let's go back to my digipeater, or not that actually. I'm just going to find a tab here. And I don't know, Carl, if you got back to me during the regarding Direwolf and using a TNC there. That's kind of my challenge. And see, I'm going to bring a web page here, though. Let's see here. And I see I got a question from Kjetil here as well. We'll get to that as soon as I figure out how to share this tab. And Kjetil asks, is extra digipeater coverage needed where you live? Yes, it is. In my area, there is limited digipeater coverage when using handy talkie. If you use a mobile rig with 50 watts and a good external antenna, I don't have any use for it at home with my mobile rig and my shack, my Kenwood D700. But with regarding to using a handy, there's no chance I can reach a digipeater. And regarding the iGate, it'll be bidirectional as far as I've planned. There's not really much to it. But let's get into, and as most ham radio web pages here, just one moment. I'm a middle-aged man using a computer. Make this a little bit bigger. this is the homepage for APRX, and it's open source. It's pretty simple. And the original fork of it kind of died about 10 years ago, and then it got up and running. And the most recent version is from 2016, as far as I know. So it's by no means new software, but then again, it's not new technology either. And as you can see here, the config here is not complicated at all. Those are just examples, and I got the manual here as well, which has a lot more here. But this is all you need to get it up and running as a digipeater, as long as you got a TNC, which is KISS compatible, and I got that. And that's kind of what drives me to it, and getting it up as bidirectional iGate is also just a couple of lines of code, and you'll get there. So I guess that's what kind of fascinates me about it, because it's simple, it's easy to get up and running. And I guess if I was using Digirig or Signalink or something like that, I think Direwolf would be the correct software to use. But since I already got a hardware TNC, I'd prefer to use that. And that being said, though, the TNC in this radio's got a Digipeat function built in. The reason I'm a little bit too skeptical to use that is because when I took this radio home and it's been running as a digipeater, at some point, it just started spewing APRS package out, about one package a second. And I don't really want that to happen when I get it up and running. So, and it's kind of clunky to configure. There's a series of commands to configure it. So using something with a config file would be preferred. And that being said, it's probably going to live in my shack, or at least in my house. So it's going to be easy to maintain. There's not going to be any need to go to a remote site to troubleshoot once things aren't working. I just need to get an antenna for it up and running. At the moment, the antenna is a demo load, and that's just in case I do something stupid. It won't affect APRS as a whole. So enough about the APRS for the moment. Any more questions? And to Stian, who was not Stian the antenna builder, but Stian, who is looking to get his license. I got a question for you if you're still here, though, and you can just let me know in the chat. When do you think you'll be licensed, though, and what kind of help do you need? Feel free to contact me if you need any help. And it'd just be interesting to know, as of, will you be getting a license in a month or in 6 months? And that's kind of back to my or to Andy's question here about how to or how many questions for your full license in Norway. I spent about 6 months taking a class to get licensed. So it's a little bit harder than in other countries, as far as I've understood. And that's back to another series that I'm working on. I've had one episode on it, and that's for the lack of people. And I'm working on the second episode, and that's different licenses in different countries. And I'll try to send you a message tomorrow, Günther, about the German licenses. Stian Storingen, LB3FJ, says that I might reach Turkey with that demo load. And if it was HF, I probably would, considering that someone else in the chat reached Turkey today on 15 meters SSB without any antenna wire. And as far as I can see now, this is not going to be a concept that is gonna be running for a long time on my channel. A little bit too few questions for starters. So I'd really appreciate some more. And if they're too hard to answer, I'll either come with my opinion or I'll actually do some research, and we can do some research together on topics here. And I kind of want to get a little bit while I'm waiting for more questions. I want to get back to LB3FJs, and I'll just call you LB3FJ here, Stian, because we have two Stians in the chat. Question about which antenna he should build next. And I've tried a lot of different antennas lately, and that's my kind of thing, though, trying different antennas. I don't know what kind of balance antennas you have available, either that you got or you could build. But I did an experiment with the K4OGO Coastal 20 a while ago, and that's an antenna I really want to do a little bit more with. It's a compact, no radials, vertical for 20 and up. So you could try that. Might even work in urban environment. Might not be the best antenna, but it sure work. And Stian says, thank you for helping him. Looks like a nice and friendly community. And yeah, ham radio is. And ham radio internet, ham radio social media, except for a couple of Facebook groups, it's a friendly place. Even Twitter for hams. Ham radio Twitter is a really friendly place. So feel free to ask your questions, and any ham would, first of all, be happy that you asked questions, and secondly, be happy that there's going to be another ham at some point. Mike Brent's here. Greetings from Georgia. Yeah, welcome. Don't know if that's Georgia in the former Soviet Union or Georgia in the United States. I'm guessing the latter. And DK5ONV says hopefully he builds the one that makes the trip to his portable setup. And I'm thinking you're thinking about Kjetil here. So, but since you live in an apartment, Stian, the K4OGO Coastal 20 is going to might be a great experiment. And Mike's from Georgia in the US. I guess that. So welcome. I don't think I've ever seen you here on the chat before or on my live stream. So welcome. And you guys are always welcome. And if you have any questions as of today's topic, your questions about ham radio, feel free to ask them. So, but let's see. I actually don't think I got any pictures lying around of the Coastal 20 here. I got a couple of videos, but I'm not going to play any of my videos here, but you guys check that out. The Rybakov is also a sure bet to try with as a new antenna to experiment with. 7.6 meter driven element into a 4-to-1 on a radial net, and mount it up vertically, and you're good to go. And any quarter wave vertical, I kind of like verticals for portable use. Tend to give you great DX, and since you're in a low noise environment, you usually don't bother too much about any noise, except if you're doing urban POTA, as I relatively often do, but still use verticals. And to Stian is taking his license, I hope we're not confusing you too much. You'll learn the terminology, you'll learn the concepts, and you learn to experiment and learn. And a ham radio license is a license to learn. LB4FH was surprised how little noise was in the center of Stavanger, which is Norway's third largest city now, I think, because he did an urban POTA there. And if you're not subscribing to his channel, LB4FH Portable Radio, head over there and take a look. Mike's got his technician's license yesterday, and welcome. And for you Americans, this is going to be a great time to get your tech license. since, as far as I've understood, you have privileges on 10 between 28.3 and 28.5. And 10 meters is great. You can get straight on at least part of HF and get the HF bug. You can go out there, do parks in the air. You can do a lot of things as that you couldn't do just a year ago when 10 wasn't really that open. And 10's just going to be, and the higher band's just going to be more and more open the next coming years. So congratulations on that. And I guess since you got your license yesterday, feel free to ask any questions here, and we'll try to answer them for you. Always great to see a new ham there. So and 10 meters has been great, even for us that lives as far north as we do here. Because we are, at least I'm at 61 degrees north, 59, 60, 61, not really sure. I'm at 59 degrees north. Just got to check my cheat sheet here. And as far north as 10 opens, not as well as it does just a few degrees more south. Stian heard South America on 10 meters FTA 2 hours ago. And actually, 10 meter FTA South America tended out to be last year. It was kind of the region that was easiest to reach on 10 meters for me. Now I can pretty much regularly, except for the little dip and flux and sunspots that there's been, make North America at least once a day. And that's kind of crossing. There's something magical about crossing the Atlantic or reaching far away parts of Asia, VKZL. That is Australia and New Zealand for you non-hams. There's something magical about that. Getting those really nice long distance DX contacts on, as I do, portable on QRP. But I'd really want to do like Walt K4OGO over at Coastal Waves and Wires do more saltwater portable. Just got to find a POTA park which has salty enough water nearby and try to do some QRP by the water. And the good thing is now that we're heading into summer in the Northern Hemisphere is that we'll get more daylight every day and the bands will stay open longer, which is good for those DX contacts. So looking forward to that. And I see that, Mike, you get a couple of congrats here from LV4FH and DK5ONV. So always nice to see new hams. And just out of curiosity, Mike, how long did you spend studying for your tech license? I've understood that it's a little bit simpler than getting your license in Norway. Let's see here. Shuttle activated on the beach both today and yesterday. Really good takeoff. I saw your video that you dropped yesterday, Shuttle, and it looked amazing being that close to salt water. Stian was at POTA Park with salt water today, so guess it's just for me to find a park and find some time off work. Colin comments 19, and not really sure what you're meaning by 19 there, Colin. And Colin says that 10 meter F2 season likely to close soon, so no daily DX from the US to EU. Absolutely. Used 2 months, memorized 300 questions, missed 3 out of 35 questions. Great, Mike. Fantastic. Just let's do the one in Sweden, and let's bring that up here, that park. Because the funny thing about that park, I'm going to find the POTA website here. Let's find the map here. The exciting thing about that park is that the park itself is saltwater. It's actually a national park, and the park isn't the island that's marked with the dot here. The park I clicked the wrong place. I'm a middle-aged man with a computer. Just bear with me. The park is this area around here, which is the sea. So so parts of the shoreline as well as within the park boundaries. So that is good opportunities for being able to do saltwater portable. And I see there are a lot of suggestions on parks, which are good to activate by salt water. So I'm not sure that's going to be my next POTA activation because I don't really have have that much time available at the current time. There's a lot of work at the moment, so I'm probably going to go out do a POTA tomorrow. But that's going to probably I got some microphone issues. That's probably going to be my local regular park here. Just being able to get away for about an hour and do some POTA there. And for new ham radio operators, going out portable, there used to be a time where you needed a big setup at home. You needed big antennas at home and everything, and you don't really need that anymore. You can go out, you can operate portable, and you can do parks on the air, summits on the air, but parks on the air is the easiest portable program you can enter. There aren't really any that much rules. You need 10 QSOs to make an activation, and you got to be within the park boundaries, and that's everything, which makes it really easy to get into. And there's a question here: how many QSOs I need to have a kilo in my home park? And let's just bring up that statistic. Actually, let's find the park here. And I'm going to bring the page up really soon. We got the page here, and I got 575 grams here, or 575 QSOs. So I'm a little bit more than halfway there, which I hope I'm going to make pretty soon. It's just a matter of time to be able to get out, though. And the last couple of activations has been somewhere between 2 and about 20 QSOs, whereas 3 months ago I made about 50 QSOs per activation. So it takes a little bit longer than anticipated, but I got the repeat offender award on that park, though. 20 activations there, so I have 20 successful activations in the park, and I guess most of these unsuccessful activations here are mine. Because it's just so simple it's an 8-minute drive from home. So it's basically getting in the car, putting a mobile whip on top of my car, and start calling CQ. And I do that QRP. And that's kind of a question for you guys as well. If I was not to do QRP, let's say I want to do 50 watts and more for portable. And what radio should I get? See, Dave has a Hunter one, and who's Dave? You're thinking about Golf Zero Roma Quebec Lima Don. Is that here? Let me know in the chat. I've been thinking for those days where a QRP activation can be tough, and I wouldn't even be dreaming about saying this. What should I do? And I sold my amplifier, though. I kind of somewhat regret that now. But I've been thinking about a cheap, older 50 to 100 watt rig, if I can find one used. And maybe you guys have any suggestions. And if you're watching this in replay, you can just put it in the comments down below, and I'll read them. So And yeah, Golf Zero Romeo Quebec Lima has 20 hunts to that park. Both he and Echo Alpha 4 Tango Lima has that. Um, they are actually good to getting back to almost every activation I have. And Don, he's always there, and he's always there with both his call and his club call as well. So that will give you two contexts on a single QSO. Technically, it's two QSOs though, but that helps a lot, and it has helped a lot on one of those a lot of those, let's call them rough activations. And I just posted a video yesterday about an average POTA activation, and that's because not all activations are what you see on YouTube. Some of the activations you actually have to put in a little bit of work, and it takes a long time, and sometimes you don't even activate. And you always got the option of going digital, but I rarely think about that, and I honestly I don't find digital that fun when doing portable. Let's go back to the POTA statistics here and check it out here though, because I want to look at my my activations here. And Carl asks if power consumption is an issue. Power consumption is always an issue, but it's a little bit about having fun and experimenting as well. Running an amplifier probably used less electrons than a QRO radio, and that's probably correct though. Running a QRO radio is a lot simpler though. And for many of these POTA activations, I activate either from my car or not very far from my car. But let's zoom this tab a little bit, so it's actually possible for you guys to read. But as you can see, I got not really high numbers here on my activations here. If you look at this one, I got 2 here. I got 6, I got 2, so I got a couple of unsuccessful there. Then I have 41 suddenly. So let's see, you got the total field here, yeah. But the 41 was no, that was phone one. So not all activations are the hundreds of QSOs. And that was kind of my point with yesterday's video, that that you don't really, not all activations are those pile up activations. Some activations takes a lot of effort. And Stian says that I can roll up with my 4-wheeled power bank, my Nissan Leaf. Yeah, I can do that. I usually do it by battery though. Anyway, I could probably hook it up through the car. I don't know how the noise levels would be though if I did that. But weight and power consumption is not really an issue when doing those kind of activations. I have been thinking about taking my 7300 out, but that's kind of permanently installed in my shack though, and I kind of want it to be permanently installed in my shack and not be the kind of radio which I unplug and plug back in and everything. And I probably would like something a little bit lighter and simpler. And I know the safe bet here is an 891, 857, or something like that. But as you probably have noticed, I like those quirky radios that not a lot of people use necessarily. Not that I have too many of those at the moment, but I've had a couple of those. A waterfall is not necessarily something I need. So that kind of widens the selection a little bit. Digimodes is not a requirement. If I want to do Digimodes, I can use my X6100. Probably the most important issue on this is cost, is money up front. That's probably the most important consideration here. Maybe a 706 might be a good good radio to go with. Not necessarily the radio that no one uses, but I've been looking into it, and I probably won't be purchasing any on, at least on this side of the summer. But it's always nice to look into. It's nice to dream a little bit, to think about what your options are. And to you guys who don't have your license, who've had your license just for a short while, your first radio is not going to be your last radio, and your current radio is not going to be your last radio. Um, there is somewhat an issue of gear acquisition syndrome in this hobby. And my former hobby was photography, and was kind of the same there as well. You always want something not necessarily better, but you want something different. Uh, and LB4FH says he'd love to have a Flex radio, and a Flex is an awesome radio. At least the little I've used a Flex, it's a fantastic radio. But then again, they are costly. Ginter says he rarely used the waterfall scope on his 7300. I actually used the waterfall quite a lot, just out of laziness, but it's not something I necessarily need for portable use, because then I usually find a clear frequency and start calling. So it's two different use cases. Shit, it's leaving us. 7-3 Shedid. Thank you for sticking on this long. And to you, Gunter, I have seen on your videos you use a 7200. Is that correct? Those old ICOMs kind of gets me confused a little bit. But I think it's or is it 7100? Let me just I'm going to Google that. It's a 7200, I think you use there, Ginter. Is that correct? And how do you like that radio? That's kind of a rugged, kind of a little bit of an old school radio. It looks nice. I've never used one. And yeah, he's got the 7200, and I just think it looks really, really cool. The 7200. It's got a rugged look to it. It's got kind of that military look, and if you get one of those camo painted ones, they look fantastic. And it's a tank compared to the 7300 weight wise. Yeah, I would guess that. I saw one at the Hamfest about a year ago, and I went a couple of rounds with myself, considering if I should get one or not, and I decided against that then. And yeah, I kind of want to agree with you there. The 7300 is as close to at least for my use case, a perfect radio as you can get them, but they're kind of like having a Mac. Kind of lacks that soul and personality. So I guess we're kind of running out of questions here. I don't really think this is a concept I will be continuing with on the channel. It's been tough talking for 50 minutes with I mean, I'm not going to say not a purpose, but without any straight topics though. So we'll see if I get some questions back or not, and some questions later on. I might do a continuation of that, maybe do it as a video. It's been fun to try though, and I'm no stranger to trying out new things and see if things work or not. I'm probably going to say now there's not going to be more average Parks on the Air videos. That didn't go too well with the viewers anyway. So I'm gonna wrap up here now. Next week on my channel, I got 2 videos lined up. I'm probably gonna film at least one tomorrow, perhaps 2, depending on how much time I have. I got tomorrow off. But the first video coming up is actually, and that's been a video long in the making. And I'm just gonna check my cheat sheet before I say that that's my next video. So just hang on a quick minute here. Let's see here. Yeah, my next one is gonna be my review on this Retivi's RT3S with OpenGD77. And that's important. It's not with the stock firmware. If you want to check out a review with a radio on the stock firmware, there are a lot of videos to choose from, and that's why I kind of decided against doing that. Retivi sent me this radio in order to try it with OpenGD77, and not to reveal too much, but yeah, I like it. I like OpenGD77, and I like OpenGD77 on this radio. So that's coming up on Tuesday. On Thursday, there's a little bit of a Parks on the Air video coming up, celebrating my Repeat Offender Award. And I got a couple of projects going on, and apparently, yep, I got it right here. So this is probably one of those videos I'm going to film tomorrow. I got this little thing here, and let's see how well that shows up on my green screen. This little 3D printed box here, which is going to turn into an RF choke because I use a lot of random wire type antennas doing portable nowadays. And I kind of see the need for having some kind of choke on it. So I figured I'd make a choke out of things I had lying around and a 3D printer. Technically, the 3D printer is still a thing I have I've lying around. So that's coming up tomorrow, and I'm probably going to do at least one Parks on the Air activation this week. And then once I get the Digipeater iGate prototype up and running, I'm going to do a little bit video, talk a little bit about my my struggles to get something working, as I talked about. But that's not going to be until I see that working. Once it's working, I'm going to try it out, and then going to get a proper call sign for it for the club, and being able to run it unattended. So that's kind of what my ham radio focus is right now. It's getting that Digipeater iGate up and running because I'd really like some APRS coverage in my area. Those are my videos. Also, I've had a couple of really good videos lately, so I want to thank everyone who's seen those. It's, first of all, the Bouvet Island stream I had 2 weeks ago with 3 members of the 3 Yankee Zero Juliet the expedition. That's been doing amazingly well for a live stream. So thanks to everyone who watched that. And that was an amazing stream, and I guess it wasn't me that made that stream. It was it wasn't me that made that stream. It was my guests. The second video was kind of a surprise. It was my my easiest POTA antenna ever video that I released earlier this week, and that kind of skyrocketed, and it's actually my third most watched video of all time now, and it's only been out since Thursday. So that was a surprise. So I want to thank everyone who made that happen. It's really nice to see when you it's really nice when you make some content that it's just apparent so fast that people want to watch that kind of content. And then again, not all my videos are going to be that way. I make ham radio videos about the stuff I find interesting, and I can certainly understand that not everything I do is interesting for everyone else. Then again, thank you, everyone. Please do like, comment, and subscribe, as I always say, videos. That really helps boost my inner feeling on what I'm doing. And I love comments. I really like comments. I like getting a discussion running. and this is a hobby of opinions, and I like those opinions. I like getting a discussion going. Maybe I was wrong, maybe I was right. I don't really care. I'd like to talk about things in the comment field. And if you'd like to support my channel a little bit more, because this is a hobby within the hobby, which is actually not inexpensive to do. There are a couple of ways you can see in the ticker down there, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. I'm not going to talk too much about that. But thanks, everyone. Thank you for sticking on to this stream for about an hour without really having enough questions to keep it going. I'm going to say 7-3 and hope to see you again next Sunday, 7-3.